And this week we're going to be testing the 2013 YZ450F. This 2013 YZ450, we've been able to get to know it better, and been doing plenty of riding on it over the last little while. Just like with any brand new bike, you're going to have some quirks that you've got to try and get your head around. One of the things that I noticed was just how you have to make sure that you're not letting yourself put too much weight on the front wheel when you're trying to edge into a corner. Obviously it would make it too heavy, and it makes life a bit difficult. I'm not sure why that happens with this bike. It just sort of accentuates that any error that you make in your body position there. It might be to do with the engine or how it handles, but when you've got your technique right, the bike comes across as being really balanced. The suspension rides really nice and high in the stroke, and anybody's going to appreciate that. When you're going through on the trails track or on the motocross track, you want to be using that first part of the stroke to keep things nice and supple and soft. And that's thanks to the Triple S forks. You've got a centrally mounted shock on the back there. That all comes as a package with the backwards engine and the airbox up the front. That's up above the fuel tank. The problem with that is the air scoops and how it makes the bike feel wider between your knees when you're sitting down. And while that might not seem like a big deal, you can see that the move that some other manufacturers have been making about trying to make the bike feel slim, and even just 4mm can make quite a big difference to how light the bike might feel. With this bike here, you have to kind of get used to having your knees a little bit further apart when you're sitting down entering a corner. But then when you're standing up, it just feels like anything else. You're going to be able to throw the bike around. It feels really stable, powering through those bumps, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, as you've seen Bubba Stewart, James do his big whips, there's nothing wrong with the handling on this bike. You can throw it around really nice, and it's a good, reliable, solid machine that way. Earlier we mentioned about how we're getting to ride it and more and get to know it a little bit better. Part of that is getting to adjust the bike to how we like it, making sure that, for me, it was making sure the handlebars are back enough in the clamps, which is something that you can do because it's got four-way adjustable handlebar clamps. The actual bend of the handlebar, that hasn't changed. I roll that quite far back, but it is a good solid bend, and it feels quite comfortable. The gear lever, I found that if that tends to be a little bit high for me. Mainly I notice it when I'm shifting gears when I'm sitting down. So again, you get used to it. You just have to lift your knee up a little bit higher, give it a bit more of a chunk. But in saying that, there's no problems with the gearbox in general everyday riding. It does shift well and solid. It doesn't give you any problems with missing shifts. They could also be partly to do with the clutch, which has a nice light feel to it. I think 2 years ago they made it a little bit easier to pull with a longer shifter arm. And of course, the bike wants to be able to power out of the corners pretty good. With getting to know the bike a bit better, you do notice that the centralizing of the mass doesn't seem to be quite as tight as it could be. You can visually see it with the exhaust sticking a long way out the back. So what they did to try and make it not so long is they did the twirly curl out behind the shock, which is where the airbox would usually be. It hasn't really moved the muffler very far forward, so there are other options that are on the works bikes and stuff like that, with the header pipe running around the front of the header, the head, which might make the muffler move a little bit closer to the centralized mass. So we'll see whether that comes on board for the future possibly. Other things for the future, of course, maybe narrowing up on the tank there. But these things that I'm talking about, they're not massive. And I mean, if you want to have a bike that's solid on the track and a lot of fun to ride, this is a really good bike for that. one thing that you'll notice straight away when you hop on this bike is it's quite a snappy bottom end. When you first come out of the corner, it really kind of jumps into life. And it helps to tame that down by being in the higher gears, maybe using that excellent clutch to smoothen things out a little bit. But it's, if you're not too worried about being smooth, initially you can just rip on the throttle and you're going to have a whole handful on your plate pretty quick. And with the handling, it's not going to bite you in a big hurry. It does handle really well. It's even the big G outs and the bigger hits that we take, it doesn't want to jump out of your hands or do anything silly. It is a pretty safe bike to ride while you're having fun. Just keep the technique right, ride in the high gears, and the 2013 YZ450 is going to be a good bike. We do look forward to seeing what Yamaha come up with for 2014 and 15. If it's anything as good as what they come up with this latest revolutionary design, then we're pretty excited to see what's going to come up. Of course, they might just decide to just keep refining what they've already got, and it's proven that it's solid and it's reliable and a good bike for the future. So we're just looking forward to seeing what happens there. So for 2013, we got to ride the bike more than we usually would, and you see some scratches on there that shows that it's had some good hard use. The more that we get to ride the bike, the more that we like it. Of course, there's some things that we'd make some little changes on, but in general, you're going to find an awesome bike here with the 2013 YZ450F.